Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I It's alive!
Welcome to where the weird ones are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with a good friend of mine. His name is Joe, Joseph Gelinas. I think I said that correctly. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure. Or it might be Galinas. Either way, I'm sure he'll correct me when he hears this, because I did not ask. But no, he's an amazing dude, has an amazing podcast, an amazing blog. It's called Tales, Trails, and Taverns. He hikes the trails, he tells the tales, hikes the trails, and gets a pint at the local tavern. Um, he's had some experiences growing up in a house that that was passed down from generation through the generations. Um, so there's a couple experiences there. And then doing his thing, hiking and going to local taverns. He did go to a tavern that he's pretty sure he saw a little something something. So I'll let him tell you about that experience here in today's episode. So, um, super happy that you all are here. It means the world to me that you are, that you continue to listen and continue to support. It's amazing. I just went to Monster Fest in Canton, Ohio. It was pretty amazing, I have to say. I got to hang out with Oren and Jenny. Got to see Shane from Inquiries of Our Reality. Got to meet Riley of Midwest Mythos. You know, it. The crew that there's a bunch of us hung out that night. Shane had his kids, and both Riley and Shane had their significant others, and it was a good time. And I got to see Alex Petikoff and Mark Matsky and Heather and who the frick else did I got to see Jeff Foreign from Strangeology. Um, I got to see Jeff Star Cruiser, the guy that does like the cryptid maps and stuff. Dude, that guy is amazing, and he's gonna be on the show soon. So, um, yeah, it was pretty good. Lyle Blackburn was there, amazing guy. Um, you know, so yeah, small town monsters is doing big things. They got a phenomenal crew going on over there, and they put on an amazing event, and I was happy to be a part of it. So I got some things, talked to some people. So yeah, it was all in all a good time. My son said he had an amazing time and he had a lot of fun. It was nice to see him smile and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's really that that was probably the highlight of it, was just seeing him smile and seeing and having a good time. Just me and him hanging out. Just me and him on the drive down. It was just me and him. We ended up wrestling in the hotel, which was a good time. We don't really get a lot of that bonding time as of lately, so it was a nice change of pace. So, and when we're all hanging out with everybody, and he's cracking jokes and stuff, it's an amazing time. We ended up uh, going to a golf simulator. So LaMonica, she actually works at the DoubleTree by Hilton, that where Monster Fest was. So she was there during Monster Fest, and then she went to her other job, which is the 19th hole, I believe, if I remember correctly. And she was just like walking the streets trying to get people from Monster Fest to come over and spend their money. And she was an amazing person, a beautiful person inside and out. I was happy to meet her. I think we all were. I was a little smitten, maybe. I don't know. Um, yeah. So shout out to LaMonica for being an amazing person. She gave Braden a fancy Coca-Cola with a bunch of cherries on it. It was pretty funny because she's like, "Do I have to ask you for an ID?" I was like, "No, he doesn't have an ID. He's way too young." She's like, "Oh, all right. Well, you never know." Um, and she gave her age. She definitely does not look her age. She looked like a lot younger. So kudos. I would love to know your skincare routine. But other than that, guys, if you're looking to flavor up your food and you love garlic, I highly recommend Bigfoot's Breath by Flavors of the Forest. Amazing company, amazing brand. They got, garlic dust infused with lion's mane. They have spicy garlic and they have ginger. So, um, yeah, it's amazing. I love putting it on my eggs. I love putting it on my steak. Pretty much everything. Everything that I cook gets garlic on, especially this garlic. It's way better than the store brand stuff. So I highly recommend it. Please go check them out. It's flavorsforest.com/weird. That's my page. So yeah, it's amazing. The garlic and the ginger are in my hot sauces. So if you're interested in the hot sauce, that's the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. That's where you can get them. I have a fourth flavor that's going to be dropping soon. Um, and it's going to be a mystery flavor. So the flavor isn't going to be in the name. So I hope you guys can check it out. So yeah, I got the hot lemon squeeze, the green apple sizzle, and the blueberry heat, man. If you like hot sauce, definitely please check them out. Check it out. I would greatly appreciate it, and feedback is always nice. I enjoy all of these sauces, or else I wouldn't have uh completed them or made them as a complete. You know what I mean? I wouldn't start putting them out if I didn't like them. So, um, yeah. So, if you like today's episode, please like, follow, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. You can leave a rating and review on the website if whatever you listen to doesn't allow you to do so. So, again, that is where the weird ones are podcast.com. That's where you can get the hot sauce. That's where you can get the merch. That's where you can get the blog and my story, the story that I'm writing. Chapter 4 was supposed to drop this past Sunday, but because I was in Ohio, I neglected it, and then I was gonna write it yesterday, but you know, we'll just take the week off for chapter 4, and chapter 4 will pick up this coming Sunday. So if you've been reading along, I apologize that chapter 4 did not come out this past Sunday. So but it will be coming out this coming Sunday. That is if you listen to this episode this week anyway. Um, yeah, I think that about covers the whole thing. So I really hope you guys check out Joe's podcast, show him some love, give him a 5-star rating and a review. He has a website, Tales, Trails, and Taverns, as well, where you can read his blog, stay up to date on what he's been up to. So, yeah, it was a lovely chat, I will say. Especially after getting to meet him at the Conjuring House. So we do talk about the Conjuring House in today's episode. So without further ado, why don't we get the fuck into it, shall we?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? This is Drewski from Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies Podcast, and you're listening to Kevin on Where the Weird Ones Are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. So happy to have you here. Today I have Joe from Tales, Trails, and Taverns. How's it going, Joe?
Going good, man. How are you?
Fantastic. So, for everybody listening, Joe and I just did a paranormal investigation at the Conjuring House, which was pretty interesting. It's like a bucket list kind of investigation thing, like a must see for me, anyways. And it was a good time, even though it wasn't as active as I hoped.
No, it definitely wasn't. But it was still a good time, and it's one that's in my backyard right here in Rhode Island, so it was definitely one that I had to see at some point.
Yes.
So
I will say real quick, everybody had left the basement, and Scott and I ended up doing an SS. I don't know if Rob told you or not, because he was still down in the basement, and it
yeah.
got pretty interesting towards like the end of mine. So, like basically what happened was it started seeming like there was a Native American spirit present, talking about stolen land and this and that, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden my body went completely cold, and I was like, nope, I'm done, I'm out of here. I got up and I got out of the chair, and I was like freezing, and I was like shaking, and my body was like, I had complete goosebumps.
Yeah.
That was probably the only time, and that was after we recorded the podcast and everything, of course, you know.
Everything
They packed
else,
up the podcast stuff already, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I kind of wish I did it before then. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. I have the video. So what I did was, you know, that green laser thing that Scott brought?
Yeah, the grid. Yeah.
Yeah, so I set that up in the video so like it's on me, and I thought it would look cool, and then I was looking back at the video today when I got home from work, and I was like, this looks stupid. You can't even tell that I'm sitting there.
I did. I think I got a couple pictures of Scott standing in the green field or whatever, and it's like you can hardly tell someone's there. It's like kind of fades everything out into the nothing of green dots, you know.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool. It was a fun night. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, yeah, it was. It was. It really was. Real quick though, Joe, if you don't mind letting everybody know a little bit about yourself and your podcast and where they can find it.
Okay, so like you said, I'm Joe, and the Tales, Trails, and Taverns podcast is one that I've been doing for, I want to say, about the last 8 months now, and it's about hiking to haunted places, abandoned towns, ghost towns, places that have stories and legends, and of course, since we like to go hiking and go get a drink afterwards, it's also about haunted taverns, haunted bars, places that you find that are older. You might find like the spirit of a colonial who still hangs around, somebody who likes to, indulge in the afterlife. And we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. We have an Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, X. There's also the blog. It's talestrailsandtaverns.com. You can find a bunch of stories that I've written out, pictures. They've got links to it's got links to all the podcasts. It's got links to everything that I can think to put on there. And this is something I've been doing. The blog, I've been doing it for about 3 years, so it's a little older than the podcast is. And that's actually an extension of, I used to do a hiking blog for, I think I started that 7 or 8 years ago. When I was hiking down North Carolina quite a bit. And I was, even back then, I was looking for haunted spots and places that had legends to find, and places with old abandoned homesteads or ghost towns or whatever. And it was just something that I was super interested in. I loved to write about it and express, what I saw, what was there, how to get there, how to get other people there if you wanted to see it too, So that's kind of where it came from, was wanting to go hiking, wanting to go on adventures, wanting to tell people about it. And it just sort of morphed into the podcast, yeah.
Nice. I love hiking. I love being out in nature. So your podcast for me, is amazing and is coming up to be one of my favorites. I just started listening, I don't know, when, I can't remember when we first connected, like 3 months, 4, 5, 6, something like that. But it's been fun. I've noticed that you kind of lived here a little bit, there a little bit, and over here a little bit.
Yeah, so I was I'm originally from Cape Cod, down in Massachusetts, and then I moved to Rhode Island when I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the reserves, and then after I got out of the reserves, I moved to North Carolina. I was down there for 10 years. So when I was down there, when I first got down there, I didn't know anybody. I moved down there with a girl. We broke up, and so I was just single, living my best life in North Carolina. It's just I didn't know anybody, and I liked hiking. I liked being in the woods. That's all I did. So like first couple of years I was down there, that's all I did. And then I met my now ex-wife, and then we had a son, and so it turned from North Carolina hiking page. This is where it gets weird, because the Facebook page goes back 12, 13 years now that I've had it. It was North Carolina hiking, then it was Carolina outdoor dad, and then it was Backroad Travels, and now it's Tales, Trails, and Taverns. Everything's changed names. It just kept morphing and becoming something new. So, but I think I got a winner here. I think I like the Tales, Trails, and Taverns thing now.
I like it. I think it's stinging, and you have it on your spare tire cover on your Jeep, which is fucking awesome. We pulled into the Conjuring House, and I was like, that's why I want a Jeep right there, so I can put my podcast over my spare tire.
I knew I was gonna have to pull right up to the house.
Good advertising.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna have to pull right up to the house and get a picture of it. I did the same thing when we went to S.K. Pierce Haunted Mansion in Gardner. I parked. Well, you have to park like on the street, but I parked across the street, and I got a picture of the tire cover with the logo and the mansion in the background to make sure that, like, hey, I go to all the podcasts that we do. Like, I've been to all these places, or Rob has been to all these places. So we try to, have a real connection with every episode that we do.
I'll keep doing it, man, because it's a good one, and it doesn't, you don't like saturate it with any like extra stuff that people don't really need to know, which is pretty cool. It's really digestible, I think, in my opinion, anyways. I don't know about how anybody else feels about it, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, we try to keep it short. We had a few episodes that started getting long, and I was like, all right, we got to dial it back, because I like to keep it under 40 minutes. I like it, like you said, digestible. Do the history of it, do any legends, tales, any ghost stories that the place has, whatever we can dig up, and then what it feels like to actually be there, man, and how to get there. That's the important part.
Yeah. It is. I love it. So, also, thank you for your service. I think I kind of knew that from your podcast. I think you mentioned it a couple times.
I think we talk about it a lot.
At least
me and Rob served together, so we probably.
Oh, did you?
We served in
Yeah,
Iraq in
okay.
2007. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I was just a child then.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean that was his only. I think that was his only deployment. I served once before. I served in 2004 and 2007, but he went over in 2007, and I think he was still in high school in 2004, or just after. Just got out. He's a little.
Oh, okay.
He's a little younger than me, but yeah.
Yeah. 2007 was my graduating year, but I didn't graduate, but
Hmm.
that was when I was supposed to graduate.
No, nice.
Um, but yeah, so you started doing these hikes and you start with the Facebook and stuff. And
Yep.
is that how it like kind of like snowballed into the podcast, or were you just always, did you have experiences growing up or anything like that made you interested in the paranormal aspect of all this?
I did. I did have a lot of experiences growing up. Actually, the house that I grew up in, down on the Cape, I moved in with my dad when I was 11. I lived with my mom before that, and there were a couple other houses that were weird, but the one that my dad lived in is the same house that our family's been in. I was the sixth generation of the same family to live in this house, and we built it. My
Wow.
grandfather's grandfather built the house in sometime between 1870 and 1890, and so every male generation from him down has all lived in that house. You know, until me. Of course, my son we don't live there anymore. That the house is, it's still there. It's still in the family, but it's not livable anymore.
Hi, I'm Natasha with Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. Embark with me on a journey to uncover the details involving cryptids, haunted houses, and unsolved mysteries. Get ready to awaken your curiosity and explore the unknown. Ask questions, and together, let's unravel the secrets behind the legends.
But so it was the spirit that haunted the house was my grandfather's grandmother, so like my great 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 grandmother, I think. Nellie Baker. It's always been that she's haunted the house. It's her house. Everybody else there is just a guest. And she doesn't like women for some reason. She loves all the stories go back to how she loved her sons and she loved her husband. She didn't want any other woman in that house, and she drove them all out in her lifetime, and then cursed the house that no other woman would ever be able to live in it. And apparently any woman who's in that house, including my aunt, who grew up in the house, is just driven out by all kinds of stuff happens to them. That when stuff gets moved around, there's negative energy around them, the feeling of being unwelcome. My aunt Priscilla described it as being like a very negative energy. Just didn't want her there. It's very cold. Yeah. My dad would always say, it's just Nellie. It's fine. Just tell her to leave you alone and you'll be good. But there was a few times I saw her. She tapped me on the shoulder a couple times in the early morning. Like I felt a really hard tap that woke me up out of a sleep. There was I remember one year I was walking back outside. I think I was early teens. And like I was walking through, I had a little fort in the backyard. We had a big lot. It was like 7 acres out there. But just behind the house, there was a little fort. And I went out there in the middle of the day and nobody else was around. I think my stepmother was home and I was just at the house because I spent most summers there. And I got down to the fort and I just hear this woman laughing, like maniacal laughter, coming around the corner near my fort. And I just fucking turned tail and booked it back to the house. And then like probably a hour later, I got the nerve to go back out there and go, Nellie Baker, go back to your trunk, and get all give her the boot, like get out of my fort, And then
Boys only. This is the
boys only. This is
what is
go back in the house.
The He-Man Women Haters Club or whatever. The Little Rascals.
Yeah. Yeah. No girls allowed, No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No women's spirits allowed. None of that stuff. And then I think when I was like 16, I was upstairs. I was in one of the upstairs bedrooms, and I came down. I woke up early, and I think I was like, okay, I'm going to take a shower before I go to school this morning. I walked down the stairs, and as you get to the bottom of the stairs, if you turn right, it's the living room, and you turn left, it's the bathroom. So I walked down, went to the bathroom, and I walked back out, and I looked up the stairs, and there's this human-shaped white mist standing at the top of the stairs and like coming towards me down the stairs. I knew it was her as soon as I saw this thing. And so I walked across the living room, turned the light on, I sat down on the couch, looking at the bottom of the stairs, and I just sat there till the fucking sun came up. I didn't move. I was just like, nope, I'm not. No shower this morning. I'm not going to cross that threshold again, you know?
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've been in situations like that where I saw something and then I just like don't move or go anywhere. I just find a spot to just kind of sit, and I'm like, if I'm still enough, it won't bother me.
Right.
You know?
It was either she's not going to bother me or she's going to come to the bottom of the stairs and I'm going to see her. One or the other. But I'm just going to sit here, park myself right here and just wait. Whatever happens, you know? At this point.
That's funny. So it was just like a white misty thing in the shape of a human.
Yep, just like the head and shoulders. And just standing at the top of the stairs and moving down the stairs. From what I can remember.
Yep. Oh, that's creepy. That would scare the crap out of me now.
I know, right? Yeah, and I'm not the only one who's had experiences in that house. My dad had told me one time, my stepmother lived in the house there for a while. He was married for quite a while. Had my two sisters with his second wife, and apparently she was in the house one day, and there was one of the master bedrooms. There's two big bedrooms and a smaller bedroom upstairs, and one of them there's this really deep closet. Like the door goes in on the left, and then the closet goes all the way down the room on the back end. And she apparently went in the closet, and at the time there was an old trunk, and it had all of Nellie's stuff in this trunk. So it was Nellie's trunk. That's why we used to tell her to go back to her trunk. And so the trunk was all the way in the back of the closet. And apparently she went in there one day, and my dad was in the house. And she went in there, and the door shut behind her. And for 30 minutes, she couldn't get the door open. And she's up there screaming bloody murder, yelling for somebody to come let her out, trying to get the door to open. And mind you, this door doesn't lock. This door barely shuts. There was like a nail or something that held the door. Like, there was no like door latch, normal door latch. It was just like a little nail that the door kind of clipped to. And so it didn't always shut all the way. This door would pop open fucking all the time. I stayed in that room a couple times, and like the door would just randomly be open all the time because it didn't latch well. It was an old house. And she was in there for about 30 minutes screaming, and then finally the door just unlocked, let her out. And she comes out, finds my dad, and was like, "Did you hear me screaming?" He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I didn't hear anything. She's like, "I've been up there screaming for 30 minutes. He's like, "I've been sitting here in the fucking kitchen, like, I didn't hear a thing."
That had to have been terrifying for her.
Probably. That was probably the best story that I ever heard from that one.
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't want that to happen to me. The level of panic, that would go through me.
Right. Locked in a room that doesn't lock.
Shutting. Yeah.
Fuck that. I don't want that.
Knowing forever that this door just pops open all the time, and now all of a sudden I can't get out of it.
Yeah.
Which I will say, I accidentally locked myself in the chicken coop like last week, and I kind of started panicking because I don't have like an actual latch outside. So it's what I did was the door's kind of busted, and so I put a screw right above because it's a double door, and I put a screw into a 2x4 so that I left it loose enough so I could move it up and then open the door, and then when I shut it, I move it back down so that the doors can't come open.
Yep.
And I went in, and the chickens were trying to get out, so I just kind of like shut it. I pulled the 2x4 down just a little bit, and so that when I shut the door, that it would kind of just like stay, won't like fly open again. And I was grabbing the eggs and checking their foods while I was in there, and then I went to go out and I couldn't open the door, and I was like, "What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?" And then I had to like push it open and stick my arm out to try and push that frickin' 2x4
Yeah.
up until it and my arm had the hardest time going through that crack. But yeah, that is like at first I didn't understand what was wrong until like I
Right.
felt it. But like being locked in a closet that I know for a fact that doesn't lock, I probably like to feel that panic. It would have been 10 times worse
Oh yeah.
if I was her. So um but anyways, so I would assume that pretty much everybody had some sort of experience in that house,
Yeah,
right?
most of my family has had an experience in that house.
Yeah. Now, what do you now that it's not livable? What do you guys do with it? Like, is there anybody there on that goes and checks on it or anything like
Yeah,
that?
so one of my uncles lives on the property in another house that's not too far away from it. So at the
Yeah.
moment, there's two pieces of property. There's one in the town of Barnstable. There's one in Mashpee, and they're looking at selling the one in Mashpee because it's just all open. It used to be cranberry bogs, but
Yeah.
it's become too expensive in Massachusetts to grow a small batch cranberry bog and actually make it profitable. So they've stopped doing that. They haven't been doing it many years, and they're looking at selling that property and then discussing whether or not they want to put money into fixing the old homestead or demolishing it. They're gonna all get together. My uncles and aunt are gonna do a little brain trust to try to figure out what they want to do with the house. But right now the roof is leaking. The walls are the ceilings are all coming down. It's been
Oh no.
neglected for the last 10 years, so it's in rough shape. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen to it, man. It's kind of sad to see it, to think that it might be gone pretty soon, but it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do about it. I
feel
don't
ya.
have the money to buy it off of them and fix it up myself. If I could, I would. That'd be awesome, but probably not going to
Yeah, I
happen
hear
anytime
ya.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you tonight was, what has been your most favorite trail to hike? I know it's probably hard for you to answer, and so like, what was your favorite trail to hike, and what is the history behind it?
So that was probably there's one that I just did an episode on it not too long ago. It's the White Pines Nature Preserve, and it's in Sanford, North Carolina. That's where I used to live when I was down there for about 10 years.
Oh
I
yeah.
had a house in Sanford, lived there for a couple of years in a rental. And it's the White Pines Nature Preserve, and it's part of the Triangle Land Trust. It's one of their first properties that they acquired. And what it is, it's not a very big parcel. I want to say it's like 280 acres, something like that. And it's in a spot where the Haw River and the Deep River come together, and then the Haw River keeps going. No, I'm sorry. The Deep River and the Rocky River come together. So it's got a point where there's one river that comes down, another one that connects, another big one, and then those two connect to the Haw and create the Cape Fear River. So it's right near the start of the Cape Fear River and the Cape Fear River Basin. It's not too far from Jordan Lake, which is one of the reservoirs that feeds it. And the thing about that area is that the way the rivers are and the way that there's northward facing slopes in the valley, it creates a spot where it's about 10 degrees cooler than everywhere in the surrounding area in North Carolina. And so what happened was 10,000 years ago when the glaciers came down and all like the cooler plants came down and sort of started living down there, they came to the area, and then when the glaciers started receding, all the cooler weather plants kind of died off around them except for this one spot in Lee County. And so what happens is, like, white pines are big around here. I grew up with them on the Cape. You probably got them a lot in Maine, everywhere. You don't have them in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
You got loblolly pines and other types of pines down there. So when I found this spot and I started hiking it, it was like the smell of the white pines just reminded me of home in my childhood so much that I just instantly fell in love with the place. It was that smell of the white pines. It was just perfect. It was amazing. And so I probably hiked that place hundreds of times. You know, I lived 15 minutes from it when I bought my house in Sanford, so I was there all the time. I was there hiking one time, and then I went off down one of the side roads, and there was an old abandoned farm down there. So there was like some old buildings that were down there that I found at one point and started exploring it. There was another time there used to be ferry systems on some of the rivers down there, like especially across the Cape Fear, where they used to go from Raleigh to Fayetteville. And so you started finding like old cables that went off into the woods from the water. They used to run the old ferry systems down there. So there was so much stuff that I kept finding down there. And so it just kept getting better and better. There was one time I went down there and I was hiking by myself, and I stopped at this one spot that I'd walked by a dozen times already before. And I took a couple steps off the trail because I was just going to take a leak real quick, right? And I step out there and I'm about 10 feet out in the woods, not that far from the trail at all. And I see a stone standing there, and it's just a random stone just standing upright. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. It's just weird stone. And then I notice another one a couple feet away, and another one, and another one. And I'm like, oh shit, there's a bunch of stones like in a line. And then about 6-7 feet away, there's another line of them. I'm like, this is a fucking cemetery. Like, I just stumbled on an old farm gravestone, like gravesite. Just a little cemetery just here that's been here forever, just hidden in the woods. Nobody, you know, there's nothing standing out about it. There's no signs, there's no fences, there's nothing. There's just, you wouldn't even notice it if I wasn't standing on top of it. Probably peeing on whoever was buried there at the time, but, you know. And then, so another part of that was when I first got down to North Carolina, and like I said, I was hiking a lot. When I first got down there, I bought this book, and it was called 100 Classic Hikes in North Carolina, and it was by an author named Joe Miller. And so I was going through that book, and I was checking off different hikes, and White Pines was one of them that I had found through that book. And a few years after that, I don't know, have you ever heard of meetup.com?
I've never heard of it until I listened to the episode that you just put out last week or earlier this week, one or the other, about what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so it's like it's a website for people to meet up. So there was all different kinds of stuff, but I was focused on the ones that had hiking groups in it. And it happened that there was one group in there that was put together by Joe Miller, the author of this book. And so I started following that, and one weekend they were like, hey, we're doing a hike down at White Pines Nature Preserve in Sanford. I was like, oh shit, yes. So I get to meet this author that, like, on a hike, one that I found through his book, one that I fell in love with, you know what I mean? So it was just like so many good experiences in this one little small piece of woods that you know, there's a lot of grand views and there's a lot of awesome stuff you can see in other places, but it's just, this experience was amazing, and it kept being amazing. So that's my favorite trail of all time so far. There's a few contenders, but
that's awesome.
That's the one.
That's awesome. I will say real quick about like the random hidden graveyard. I see them all the time, just like random graveyards that aren't upkept, but they're like right on the side of a highway in between like all these buildings and like shopping malls and stuff. And I'm like, that's a weird spot for a small little cemetery. But the real question is, that's a really funny spot to build your store right next to a little cemetery, you know?
Right.
Like, so I live in Sanford, Maine, and there's one that has been sitting out right next to Shaw's, the grocery store, for anybody that's not familiar with Shaw's that, you know, lives somewhere else that's not here. And it's been sitting out there for like obviously forever. I don't know where it dates back to. I've never actually gone to look at any of the graves, but they just built a convenient MD on the other side of it now recently. So like, I don't know. Eventually they're going to
Just
build
building
something
right
on
around
top
it,
of it,
just-
I feel like. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
really weird how I feel like that's a little I feel like it's disrespectful, to be honest, but I don't know. I feel like that would
Yeah,
cause
there's
some
a lot
bad
of them.
juju.
There's a
But
lot of them
I
down
mean,
here in
there's also like
it's about to say North Carolina, but
years and years people have been dying and being buried in unmarked graves or just dying on the ground, and then the ground kind of claims their body, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
who knows? We could be walking on
definitely rather be in a
somebody's
marked grave.
at any point in time, to be honest.
Uh-oh.
So, but I had another question for you too. So you know, you go to haunted bars. Have you found one that? Oh shit! We done lost Joe. Joe, where'd you go, bro? Let's see if he comes back. There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All
I can
right.
hear you.
It decided to leave for a second there.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, oh shit, Joe's gone. Because I was looking at the camera talking, and I just kind of like looked down. I was like, wait a second, it's only me right there.
I was like, I was listening to you talking for a minute, and I was like, trying to say a couple things here and there, and you just kept talking like I didn't say anything. I was like, oh crap, he can't hear me.
Oh man, dude, you gotta love technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like it's a pain. It's fantastic, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah, it
You
can
know.
be. Yeah.
But yeah, other than the trail question that I had for you, it's I also because you do you know, haunted bars or taverns and pubs and stuff like that, which I
Yep.
think is a amazing part to do, because you know there's so many of these that have been in business for such a long time. So have you ever
Yeah.
do you have like a favorite location that you've visited?
As far as bars, no, I like all bars equally, I think. It's, but I mean, I did like getting to there's the General Stanton Inn, which is one of the older ones. It's in Charlestown. It's a couple
Yeah.
towns over from me here in Westerly, and it was closed for about 10 years. And when I moved back to Rhode Island, I ended up living in Charlestown, and it was still closed. And then just about the time we sold the house and moved on, they somebody bought it and they started renovating it, and they recently opened it up. I think they opened it up a couple of years ago, and so they brought it back to they tried their best to put the original color back on the outside and do their best to, you know, make it hospitable, but also keep it, you know, as original as they could. And I think they did a really good job. I went there, I want to say it was a couple months ago now. I went there on a Thursday, was sitting down having a couple drinks, and I remember asking the bartender, there was a little door over my shoulder, and I was like, hey, is that the door to the Prohibition Room? Because the Prohibition Room is like, it was built, you know, in the 20s during Prohibition, and they use it as a speakeasy, because the history of this place is like, they fought the government every turn they could. Anytime there was something they could fight the government on, whether it was abolitionist movement or the Prohibition movement or whatever, and they fought them. They did it. They did something
Nice.
to deter the government from doing what it was supposed to be doing or what it likes to do. Anyways, that's
I like that.
and so I asked her. I was like, "Oh, I was at the Prohibition Room," and she goes, "Yeah, do you want a tour?" It's like,
Ooh.
"Sure, I'll take a tour." Like, okay. And she goes, all right, hold on, let me go get someone. I thought she was gonna go get like the hostess that was at the door when I walked in, you know, where the inn was. And a couple minutes later, the fucking owner comes walking out, and he's like, "Oh, do you want a tour?" And I'm like, "Bro, okay, yeah, no shit." Like I did not expect the owner of the place to walk out and give me a tour. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we talked, and he was asking me like why I was interested in the tour, if I wanted to play an event. I was like, oh, I do a podcast, paranormal podcast that does haunted taverns and stuff like that. And he was like, all right, cool, that's awesome. And he started showing me around. The first room you walk into is like the original building. It was a one-room building, and it was built in sometime in the 1600s, the late 1600s or whatever, and then moved from a different location to where it is now. And then the rest of the building was built off of it. So we're in that room. He's telling me all about it, and it's a lot like the Conjuring House was, with the beams and the old, mortar and tenon joints and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we walk out of that room into a hallway where the bigger inn is, and I was actually just telling this story today to somebody, and I walk out in that hallway, and just for a second out of the corner of my eye, I see what I swear is a little girl standing there, and I look, and there's like the end of a table, and there's a tablecloth hanging over it, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just saw the tablecloth and my brain just said fucking little girl, whatever, I don't know. So we keep going with the tour. He takes me into a room, shows me the place. The bathrooms, they spent so much money on the bathrooms in these hotel rooms, the inn rooms, it was ridiculous. So like, it had the old charm of the bedroom and the walls and the ceiling, but the bathroom was all 100% up to date. And so then he starts telling me about the ghosts that haunt the place. He said there's 3 ghosts that haunt the place. There's the general, and then he goes, and there's a little girl, and then I don't even remember what the third one was, because after he said the little girl, my mind was just like, oh shit. Like, maybe I did see something.
Yeah.
And then we continued with the tour. He showed me the Prohibition room. He told me all about the history, all about each part of the building, when they were added in. There was one, the Prohibition was added in the 20s. The biggest room was added in the 80s when they were expanding and doing like a dance hall type stuff. So that's what the banquet hall, and they do all the functions and stuff at. And yeah, it was a great time. And we walked back to the bar, and I think I got to talking with some of the other patrons that was there, and then the owner's wife. And she showed me a picture that one of the guests had taken in one of the rooms, where you could clearly see like the shadow of someone wearing a top hat in a mirror that was standing in the doorway. And I was like, that's a good one. That is a good one. Because it's just like a black figure right in the middle of this doorway. It's not like a shadow cast on anything. It is a black solid mass right in the picture. I was like, that's an awesome picture. That's cool. So that was a great experience. And one that I wasn't expecting on a Thursday night,
That's cool. That's cool. Have you ever, like, especially since you started the podcast and all that, have you ever just found, like, being in a conversation with somebody, then all of a sudden they just bring up, like, paranormal stuff randomly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I'll say real quick, I've been in hundreds of conversations. Not that I really wanted to, but I've been in like 100 conversations before I've ever had a podcast, and with strangers, and nobody ever brings like paranormal or cryptids up in a random conversation. And then all of a sudden, just people started. So once I started the podcast, like there's a woman at the scale house at work. I was just talking to her, and she was talking about this camp her and her husband go to every year up north in Maine, northern Maine. And she's like, yeah, that has a nice little pond we go fishing in, and Bigfoot will throw a rock in the pond to let us know that we've been there too long. And I was like, what? And she's like, oh
Bigfoot,
yeah. I was like, he just hangs out while you're there. And she's like, well, there's something. And I was like, oh my God. That was so, like, it was just completely random, caught me off guard, and I feel like it would never have happened if I hadn't started the podcast. But and that's just a feeling. But yeah. So
that does happen
to you?
Because like after I brought it up at the General Stand, like the bartender had a story from that place and from the Carriage Inn. The person sitting. The few people sitting across the bar, they had some stories of their own. Like, as soon as you feel safe to tell ghost stories, and people aren't going to judge you for it, you know what I mean? As soon as you know that, hey, it's okay to tell people that I had a paranormal experience, I think they just jump at the opportunity to, because you want to be heard. You want to tell these stories. You know, you want somebody to listen to you and not go, "Well, you're fucking crazy. The ghosts don't exist." Blah blah. Fuck, it must have been the light of swamp gas or something, or you know, some shit like that. You know.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I love talking about ghosts and this stuff. I mean, hence why I have a podcast doing so. But
right.
Have you ever done investigations, or do you just go and like you just like research like an area and find out the history of like the local taverns and the trails around it, and you go hike it, and then you go to the tavern? Is that how?
Yeah, it's more about the experience. It's about the history and the tales that go along with the place, like the legends that happen with it, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Like when we went out to the Assaunted Ledge, you know, that's the place where the woman in white has been appearing for however many years at the top of the ledge and urging people to jump and stuff like that. And we weren't going up there to find her. I mean, it'd be cool if we walked around the corner and saw her, but we're not out there like... I've never done paranormal investigation. I think what we did at the Conjuring House and what me and Rob did with Natasha at Penhurst is probably the most paranormal investigations that I've ever done and Rob has ever done. You know? So yeah, it's more about the history, more about the stories, more about showing you that these places exist pretty much in your backyard or anywhere. A lot of places that you go every day could have a dark history. It could have something tragic that has happened. It could be the place where a war happened, a battle, a fight, somebody died, somebody offed themselves, somebody, you know, was looking for a long lost lover beyond beyond their mortal realm, you know. And we just want to tell it like, yeah, man, you can see these places. It's not a specific place that you have to travel hours to go. It could be right there. It could be in your backyard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fort shit, I want to forget the name of it, but there's a fort right here, Watch Hill, that is right at the end of the beach at Napa Tree Point. And
okay.
Rob knew about it. I had no idea it was there until I walked out there on a hike and just stumbled onto it. I think it's Fort Mansfield, I believe. And this fort was built like the late 1800s. Didn't serve very long because it had a really bad weakness, and it's now just going back to the elements. The beach is taking it back. You know, it's built on a sandbar, so there's nothing holding it there. There's no rocks or anything to keep the sand from washing away.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was there. I don't think most people who go to Watch Hill know it's there. I'll have to stop if I ever see Taylor Swift down there at Watch Hill. I'll ask her if she knows it. She probably doesn't know about it either. You know? And there was Hurricane of 48. The Hurricane of 48, they used to build houses out on Napa Tree Point. Like, the houses went all the way out. There was something like 40 plus houses, and when the Hurricane of 48 hit, it wiped out more than 30 houses, killed 15 people that day.
Oh, shit.
You know? And again, like this tragedy that happened in this place that is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a great beach. It's a nice place. There's nice little shops and stuff, but nobody knows. Not everybody walking around is going to know this history, this tragedy, this dark stuff that happened there. You know, so that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to tell.
I love that. I love keeping history alive through stories. Like, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
History was my best subject in high school, and you know, I still learn stuff as to now. You know, I'm still constantly learning things that have happened in our history. Like, you know, I was learning about. I was actually listening to a podcast today that was talking about how feminism was started and shit, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'll give you something that I learned too about it real quick. So, it was okay. So when it was suggested, so they put it into like they were asked women to vote. Do you want the right to vote? And only 4% of the nation's population voted yes, that they wanted to vote. So they were like, women don't know what they want. we're just gonna put it into legislation. What are you talking about, you silly ladies? like
Yeah,
like
right.
the majority of women in the United States wanted to stay home. They didn't like there was no rules. There was also no rules and no regulation saying that women couldn't work because women were working at the time too,
Yeah.
as well. So,
Well, didn't it?
and the
and and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't have a lot to do with the drafting, because if you were able to be drafted, you could vote, and they didn't want. There was like a back and forth about wanting to vote but not wanting to be eligible for the draft. Is that? I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass. I swear I heard it somewhere, but
so that had something to do with it as well. So
Yeah,
what they
kinda
were,
figured.
what a lot of women were saying were, um, they were saying, hey, look, if we have to register to vote, we have to align with a party, and being ineligible to vote, we can stay apolitical. So when we want change for like our parks or something like that, we go to these people in legislation, and they know that we're not lobbying, for one side or the other. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And we also don't want to be drafted.
yeah,
So like that's
I
that's
gotcha.
how that's how that was going. And then once that it was written into law that women could vote, not one woman voted for 30 years until 30 years after.
Oh shit.
So I found that pretty
It's interesting.
interesting.
Yeah,
So,
history's full of wild shit like that. So
yeah. I listened to it today and I was like, huh. I was like, the way that I get told, I've always been told by people was that every woman wanted the right to vote and
right.
this and that, and but that's the thing about, you put so many different people in America. We got so many different nationalities, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different religions, all that stuff. It's just a big melting pot. We're all not gonna agree on every single thing anyway, so.
No, absolutely not.
And that's the beautiful thing that I think it keeps life interesting is not, that we don't agree on everything. So, but yeah, I love history. History's fucking, it's interesting. Like the speakeasies that you were just talking about too.
Yeah.
I think I thought that was a fantastic era, like an outlaw era kind of thing, and that was when like the mobs kind of started and all that stuff that I learned about, and that's when NASCAR came out of that too, because they started souping up their engines to outrun the law.
Yeah.
So,
Burning
and it's
whiskey. Yeah.
yeah, running whiskey, moonshine, and all that shit. Like, and I always think about those old movies every time I think about it. Like, the fuzz is here. We better get going.
All right, I think I hacked in. We're on the air? Shh, security's outside. But how's my hair? It's a radio station. Psst, psst. You guys hear about the Beyond the Shadows podcast with Ryan and Scott? You guys into paranormal? What about true crime? How about UFOs and cryptids? We also have mad hauntings. We got security. No, we don't. We're not big enough to need it yet. No, we got security.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out of here!
Listen to the Beyond the Shadows podcast.
Beyond the Shadows!
Oh,
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah. So, have you ever had like an experience that you felt was like negative in any kind of way to the point that you were like afraid for your life?
Oh yeah. So I think we talked a little bit about this. I have I feel like sometimes stuff comes into my subconscious in my dreams and stuff like that. I've had some very vivid dreams where I feel like I've been contacted by something that's passed, and so many times it's been somebody that I knew, family member, something like that. But there's been times where something dark has come in, and it's not good. I remember, and back in 2011 or 2012, I was dating this girl when I was down in Sanford, North Carolina, and as opposed to Sanford, Maine. Just pointing that out there. And she was telling me once she got comfortable, she was like, "Oh, I can see dead people. I can see spirits." I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of cool." And I started telling her about the dreams, about how sometimes I have dreams where I feel like something's dark in my dream and something's trying to come after me, and sometimes there's spirits or whatever. I was like, I don't know if it's one or the other. And she told me, she goes, "Well, if you're lucid enough, if you can think about it, ask it if it's good or bad." And I'm like, "Okay, that seems reasonable." And probably the next time I had a dream where I felt like there was something dark in my dream, it was in the house that I was staying at. This is like a single wide trailer down in the Carolinas, and I remember it came into my dream, and I was like, I stopped it and I thought about it, and I was like, "You good or bad?" And as soon as I said that, the thing became three things, like three dark entities, and it just came at me, and the whole dream just went to complete shit. Like it was nightmare, like full on factor. I was scared to death. I didn't know what the fuck was happening, and I ended up waking up in a complete sweat and a panic, and since I was raised Catholic, when something comes into my dream or something, I feel like something dark is around me, I go back to prayer. I start saying our Father over and over again, and find a Bible in my house. I've got a Bible that I don't know where it is now because I moved recently, but I usually keep a Bible around somewhere. I find the Bible. I will read prayers. I will read stuff out of the Bible until whatever it is finally decides to go away, and that's what ended up happening that night. And so, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's something dark was in my fucking dream." I was telling her about it, like it was bad. It was bad news, and she says something about how the three thing is not a good sign when it comes to dark entities or whatever. So fast forward a little bit, me and her had gone to my dad's place. He was living in Pennsylvania at the time, and a few years prior, one of my good friends from when my childhood had passed away. And I'd had a couple dreams where he came into my dreams over the years. But then while I was there at my dad's house, I had a dream and he showed up. And he's there, and, he was a big dude. So he was just, in his bigness, he's just there. And he's wearing like this white button-up shirt with like a little something on the side, on the pocket or whatever. And I stopped, and I'm like, okay, I hit that. I felt that lucidness again. I was like, okay, I got to remember. I was like, "Are you good or are you bad?" And he looks at me, he goes, "I'm all good, man." And he just wrapped me in this big, huge hug. And I lost my shit. I woke up just bawling, just crying my eyes out like a kid. Mm-hmm. Just total exhilaration that I had that experience. So, yeah, I've had some dark shit, and I've had some good shit happen to me and in my dreams and stuff like that. So, yeah, man.
That's interesting. I find it really interesting that I feel like most men that I've talked to have had a woman that they've dated that was like, "Hey, I can see some shit."
Yep.
That I have. My high school girlfriend could see shit, which actually, oddly enough, she messaged me the other day asking me to help support her in her realty business or something like that. I don't fucking know. It looks like one of those scam messages, but it is her.
Right.
Which is really fucking weird. She's like, hey, Kevin, can you help me? Blah, 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 blah. She's like, "It's cool if you don't want to." I'm like, ugh. But yeah, she put me through some shit too. Like, she's just like,
oh, yeah.
randomly, like, she's like, I can see shit, and I don't really talk about it because it scared the fuck out of me, but I will say, like, one night we were talking on the phone, and I was laying in my bed, and my older brother had just moved back home because he went through a breakup or whatever, so we were sharing a room, and she's like, "There's someone sitting on the foot of your brother's bed staring at your brother, and he has a hole in his face." And I was like, "What?"
Oh, fun.
She's like, "Yeah." And then I got like, kind of like a sleep paralysis feeling, but like not. Like, I could move, but I didn't want to, And I was just like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "He's just sitting there staring at your brother." And she's like, he's like giving me the vibe of like a friend or something like that. Like, he's like watching him, as in like protection or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, out of all the other things that I've watched her do, like I was just like, I knew she wasn't bullshitting, or at least
Yeah.
I didn't think she was, anyways. And what happened was, so my brother had like a really good friend in high school, who committed suicide by shooting himself in the face. So
Shit.
thinking about that, all that interaction with my ex-girlfriend, and then knowing that, I was just like, that has to be his friend. So I almost wonder if maybe that dude became like my brother's spirit guide or something.
Right.
Which, if he did, he's doing a terrible job because my brother is a terrible person.
That's funny.
Uh,
Really need to pick it up here, spirit guide. Like, come on, man.
yeah,
Help me
yeah,
out.
man, yeah, yeah. Help him, help himself, bro.
That's right. Help him out, man. Give him a hand up, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say he is sober now, so that's a good thing.
That's good.
So, shit. This is what happens. I had a question that I wanted to ask, and then I forget. I really should start writing them down as they come to me. I keep saying that I should do that. I should have like a notepad sitting right here so I can just fucking quickly jot it down.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you have coming up next? Like, what do you have, a hike or anything that you're looking to do in coming up soon?
Yeah, so we got a couple things that we want to do. Rob just is where the hell is he going this weekend? He's going to Laconia. I think there's an old asylum or something in Laconia, New Hampshire. I can't remember the name of the hospital, but he tried to go there last weekend. It didn't really work out for him. He's going up there this weekend. He's been on the asylum things. Like he's been on going on the asylums over and over again. He's gotten some really cool stuff.
Last week was bike week too, I think.
Oh yeah, that might not have been a great time to go up there, or maybe it would have. Maybe the cops would have been busy. Who the hell knows? But and then the weekend before, no, Father's Day, we went to me and him got together. We took our kids to Fort Wetherill in Jamestown to check out the tunnels and stuff because there's like a bunch of tunnels that go underneath Fort Mansfield.
Oh, no
so we
shit.
went out there. We saw the old gun turrets. We walked around. We went down into the caverns, and his daughter was like leading the way down these like just into this hole. She's like, "Oh, look, this one looks good." We just go down there. We were walking through this dark tunnel that was only about 2.5 feet wide for probably 5 or 6 minutes or so, just going around corner after corner, not having any idea where we were. And then we finally popped out in a room, like a little ways down from where we went in. It was super cool. Then for me, what the hell do I have going on? I don't have anything planned coming up. I gotta find something to do. I gotta figure something out.
How often do you write on your blog? Do you just write when you go out, after you go out, or do you find something to write about?
It's been a while since I put anything new on there. What I was doing was I was writing out the podcast. I would write everything out before I got Rob to join me. I was writing everything out ahead of time, the history, my experience, everything, and then basically copy paste it, put it on the blog, edit it to be a blog and not a podcast.
Yeah.
And then put the pictures and stuff that way. But it's been a little while. I try to do it as often as I can, but I haven't done it as much as I should. I should do more. So I'll probably try to throw more stuff on there in the coming up. So maybe that's what I'm gonna be focusing on. And the other one that we got coming up, I think the next one we're gonna record. Rob went out to the orphanage at Norwich State Hospital and had quite the experience there, and found a lot of crazy history about it, and a lot of bad stuff happened there, like the selling of orphans and stuff for industry and the Industrial Revolution. So that's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, as far as what they did to kids back then and what they could get away with, it's scary. what people could
Yeah.
do to each other back in the
Yeah,
1800s and 1700s, so
Yeah.
that should be a good one coming up. He's been looking into it, and he's really excited. He keeps telling me about all the different stuff he keeps finding out about it and what he saw when he went there, and it sounded pretty wild. So I'm looking forward to listening to that one when we record it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to compile a video together from all the videos that I took at the Conjuring House. But so when we were on the trail and I was asking everybody how they felt to be at the Conjuring House, my microphone wasn't plugged all the way in, and I was hoping that the regular microphone was gonna pick us up as we were talking, but it's completely silent videos.
Yeah.
So it's just like everybody, like you, Scott, and everybody just.
Oh man.
Which
that's too bad, 'cause it was a lot.
Yeah. It's all right, and it's weird too because I had it, so like a lot of the videos that are over 3 minutes won't register. It says error, not supported or whatever, and I'm like, what the hell? But if it's under 3 minutes, I can get it on the computer. I don't know if there's like, I don't know. I don't understand it. It kind of frustrated me because I wanted to make like a little video for the website about it, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to now because of that. So we'll see. I might have to break out the old desktop computer, maybe, because I know that thing has a shit ton of memory in it. Yeah, something like that. We'll see though. But yeah, I've been super excited to do more investigations now. Like I think I might become a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because it's exciting. So I was gonna go to Mid-Orange Correctional Facility on Saturday with Christina Westervelt and her team, but I got a podcast to do on Saturday morning, and then I have 2 podcasts to do on Sunday, and I was just like 5-hour trip there, 5-hour trip back. I'm not gonna be able to swing that, but
right, yeah.
I will be in Gettysburg in July, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So.
Nice. Hey, quick question: how far do you live from Portland?
45-ish minutes, depending on traffic.
You ever heard of Fort Gorges off the coast of Portland in the bay there?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard
Rob
of it.
brought that one up to me the other day, and he was like, "Hey, all we need to go there is a boat. So, get a boat." And I'm like, "I got kayaks, man. Let's." So that's one of the things we were talking about. Like, I got a couple kayaks, man. The one that you're gonna, I got a pink one that you can use. It'll get you out there. It'll float. So we were talking about heading up there at some point doing that. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, for show. I love this stuff. I love that. I mean, that's one of the reasons that connects me with your podcast. I love fucking hiking. I love beer, and I love paranormal, dude. That's all together in one with your podcast, bro.
That's what we do, man. That's like, man, that lady at the Conjuring House, she said no alcohol on premises, and I was like, you know what? Sorry.
Yeah.
This is what we, I came to have a good time. I didn't come for a sterile ghost hunt. I came to experience it and have fun while I do it. So yeah, I'm gonna crack.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Parking lot out.
Like, yeah. I don't really I mean, I do. I mean, like, don't get drunk in the Conjuring House, but like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Like,
I don't really
throw a kegger
understand.
out back or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like a 6-pack. I feel like should be all right, but then again, when you consort with spirits and you're consuming spirits.
Maybe.
It could have got interesting. Maybe I should have brought some beer, because I did think about bringing some beer and sitting out in the woods like I was for the live, and just sitting there and drinking beer and enjoying the outside for a little bit before I actually went inside for the investigation in the basement and stuff like that. Yeah, it would have been especially with the oh my God, it's so fucking hot.
It was hot.
Dude,
It was hot.
it
It
would
was
have been nice to swig a
hot as hell
beer.
in that place.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. Yeah. Uh Anywho, Joe, if you don't mind, one last time. Oh wait, actually, you want to know what? I keep forgetting
So,
lately to ask my closing question. Are you finding fulfillment in what you're doing with with your podcast, your blog, and all that stuff?
no, absolutely. I'm finding a ton of fulfillment in what I'm doing. It's amazing. This whole journey, especially meeting you and meeting the guys at Beyond the Shadows and everybody else who we've met. David from Down the Rabbit Hole, Amanda, Frankie, Desi, like all these people, Heather and Rachel, like all these people that I've met doing this, it's been amazing. And I don't know if you know this. I had another podcast before I started Tales, Trails, and Taverns. I had one that was based in the military, and I would talk to people that I served with and talk to people that had served overseas and just talk about military stuff and talk about post-military and PTSD and whatever we did. And there was not really this community that I found there that I am finding here. So I ended up dropping that one completely. I tried doing both for a little bit, didn't work out. I was stretching myself too thin. So I focused on this one, and it's been amazing. It's been 100% awesome. I'm loving every minute of it. I like putting out the new podcast every week, finding a new place to explore. The feedback has been phenomenal. All the social media stuff has been awesome. All the feedback on there has been great, dude. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. So yeah, I am 100% being fulfilled in this role.
Nice, man. Nice. I love hearing that shit. I love hearing that. This community has been amazing. It's like you said, all the people you mentioned, they're all wonderful people, and I've become so close with a lot of them. It would be at this point it would feel really weird to continue my life without them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was
So
to kind of hit on that point a little bit when you guys all showed up at the Conjuring House. It was kind of weird to say nice to meet you because I feel like I've known you guys for for a while. Like I feel like I know you so well, and I've known you so well for such a long time now that it's like, yeah, I'm meeting you for the first time. We're meeting each other, but it doesn't feel like meeting. It feels like somebody that we are getting to the point where we're getting to be old friends now. So
yeah,
that's how much this community is, and that's how much it's meant to me, and that's how awesome it's been.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. I personally feel fulfilled in doing this, and I didn't start my podcast for listeners and stuff like that. I just want to have conversations, and the fact that I do have like you guys and a listenership now, and people like talking to me and reaching out to me about their experiences or even about the podcast itself and positive feedback and all that stuff. It is more than I pictured when I started. I was just picturing myself talking to somebody new every week, and now I'm talking to two people a week. So
Yeah.
it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So, and I'm happy to have met you. So you're fucking awesome dude, man, and your podcast fucking is the shit.
Oh yeah, man. Thanks for saying that. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So if you don't mind, one more time, letting the people know who you are and where they can find you.
So, like I said before, my name's Joe. I host Tales, Trails, and Taverns with my co-host Rob. We are two former veterans. We served together back in 2007. We're both U.S. Marines. We both love spooky shit, and we love hiking, and we love going out and get a beer afterwards, and finding ourselves an old haunted tavern to go with our old haunted trail that we just explored. Check out the history of it. Check out any ghost tales, any ghost stories that go along with it. And we drop a new podcast every Friday, about 3 in the morning. So when it comes out, it is on Apple, Spotify. There's also a Patreon if you want to see hear the podcast ahead of time. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, Threads, and There's the blog on talestrailsandtaverns.com that you can also check out. You can read all the same stories, see all the pictures, and get a real good feel for it. And we'd love to have you on as listeners. We always love new listeners. So check us out. I hope you enjoy every second of it.
Yes. You definitely will if you check it out. I highly recommend it. I know I say that about a lot of these podcasts, but I really mean it. Everybody that I have on that has a podcast, I 100% think that you should check them out. So, and this is definitely one that I enjoy listening to, so I think you should check it out. But other than that, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. Give Joe a rating and review when you go listen to his show. Because I mean that just helps kick our shows out to the algorithm that that gets us
Absolutely.
noticed. Share it with a friend, share it with a family member. Do all that stuff. But I will say, if you feel froggy enough to do so, you can also leave a rating and review on my website, where the weird ones are podcast.com. You can also get the hot sauce and the merch. Real quick, Joe's wearing a Where the Weird Ones shirt right now. You can find that shirt in the merch store as well. So anyways, I am so grateful that you guys are here listening. Joe, thanks for coming on, taking the time to record with me and talk with me. It means a lot to me that, because time is our greatest currency, and the fact that you took the time to sit down with me means the world to me.
Well, thanks for having me, Kevin. It's been a blast.
And we shall do it again maybe sometime when we've done more investigations or something together or something. Or we can always do Conspiracy Tuesday or Storytime segment, something like that. But anywho, remember everybody, question everything and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.